An organization's mission, its values, and its culture are normally quite stable for a certain time. But every now and then, some or all of these things are overlooked at the same time. Different things are important to new people and their predecessors. Also, the environment of each organization always changes slightly, often invisibly, until at some point you notice, hey, something has changed completely. For example, one day you notice that your organization's activities are less and less attractive to your target group, or that the new government wants to cancel the support program from which you have benefited so far, or after an enthusiastic beginning, you notice that your board team acts more and more spiritless as the meetings start to get annoying and boring. Whenever you find a gap between demand and reality, some questions come up. How to deal with this? How to find out whether others have the same feeling? And how to change things? Change management is about initiating, organizing, and moderating change in a way that the people concerned accept it and will be able to implement. So change management is also a matter of your organizational culture. Change can be triggered by very sudden and unforeseen events, or they can happen gradually in many small stages. Change can be approached and controlled actively and consciously, or it can be reacted in crisis mode by calling everything into question and reorganizing everything. Experience has it that if you only react to symptoms of crisis, stable periods get shorter and shorter, and chaotic phases full of fear become more frequent. Also, regarding the depth of change, there is a wide range of possibilities. Change can mean thinking over smaller processes, finding answers to specific problems, but it can also lead to finding a new strategy, defining new ways of decision making, or building new teams. Also, but very rarely, the very nature of the organization can be a subject of change, be it the vision, the strategy, or even its very identity and reason for existence. The deeper the change goes, the larger its consequences. Let's say, if I throw a small stone onto a steep slope of stones, some of them start to move. If I throw a big one, then a lot of them start to move. And if I'm really unlucky, the whole slope will collapse and I'm just standing there thinking, why the hell did I do that? If you don't want the stones you move in your organization to become an uncontrolled avalanche, you have to accompany and moderate change well. Remember, the bigger and deeper the change, the more time it needs for planning and implementing. What's most important? Take your time. Change is a process. It is never a simple and well-planned project where step C follows step B and A directly. Each step will raise new questions and new ideas, which have to be accepted and learned step by step. It is also important to make all people affected by change into participants. As the one leading the change, you accompany the process and you have a clear view over it. But don't conclude from this that you are the only one who knows what is best for everyone. Include all people affected by decisions, even if it takes time and provokes more discussions. If only a few people alone say what needs to be changed and how, then nothing at all will change. Well, except that maybe everyone will be really frustrated. On contrary, a well-accompanied and inclusive change process is fun and highly motivating. There are many different ways you can work together in a team and how you want to tackle change. When you start planning change, take your time to think how the following elements will affect you and how you will integrate them. First, informing and participating. Remember what I said, make those affected a participant. Think about whom and when should you inform and about what and how. In which point should other people not only express their opinions, but rather have a vote? Second, diagnosis. What exactly is changing or should be changed? Why? What is the problem? Third, future designing. Finding answers for questions like, what is the goal of change? Or how should things look afterwards? Fourth, social processes. What does change mean and for whom? Who could react how? Who could be against it and why? How can opposition support the quality of change and how can you turn it into something actually constructive? Fifth, implementation. How will you make things change and when do you start implementing? Only after you have analyzed everything thoroughly? Or can you maybe get some quick wins early in the process? Sixth, learning in action. How can you organize the process in a way that everyone will benefit from it by learning and being empowered to organize their own working field themselves? And finally, seventh, change management in a narrow sense. How exactly do you design the process? What steps do you plan and in which order? And how exactly do you come to those decisions? Who is responsible for what? And so on. You see, there is no direct and universally valid order in how to organize change. In your team, you have to find your own strategy. But very generally, we can assume the following order. First, you need to unfreeze a frozen state by naming, discussing, and understanding the problem. Then you can make affected people into active participants. And only then can you find solutions and actually implement change. In the end, you have to define a new state as a positive reference and refreeze things. Because people need routine, so things can become sustainable and self-evident. Now that you have gained an understanding of how to manage change, you have successfully passed the organization fundamentals part of the course. Give yourself a pat on the back and take your time to think through all the topics which were discussed: vision, mission and strategy, organization structure, culture and values, and change management. Unless this was your last course with us, your journey is not yet complete. Make sure to check the other courses to become an all-round great leader of a youth organization. But before that, it is time to exercise.